Hi, and welcome to our leadership class. We have a very thorough, comprehensive course that utilizes more than 20 books, texts, and biographies. We will meld approximately 20 leadership styles and theories together to help you not just gain knowledge, but understanding and wisdom to help you be the best leader you can be. So briefly, we'll go through the course outline. Our first topic will be defining leadership as according to the experts and the research as well. The second topic will be leadership characters, what makes an effective leader. The third topic will be going through a dozen plus leadership theories and applications. We'll look at power, trait leadership, behavioral leadership, skills leadership, situational, which is also known as adaptive and flexible leadership. We'll look at path goal theories, leader-member exchange, several variants of transformational to include charismatic, inspirational, transactional. We'll look at strategic leadership, group leadership, some different variants of team leadership to include participative, collaborative, and shared. And then we'll cover followership, which is very important. You can't have leadership without followers. The fourth topic will be communication in leadership. The fifth topic will be change management within leadership. Then we'll look at culture, the importance of culture within leadership, leadership and diversity. Leadership development, training and learning is very important, how you can become a better leader. Toxic leadership, this is hopefully you won't come across many of these in your career, but I'll share some theories there and then how to protect yourself from that. The leadership challenge, we will take on a project and you will do an inventory of your current leadership capabilities and then look at how you can become a better leader. Topic 11 will be value-based leadership theories. We'll look at ethical leadership, servant leadership, and several topics here under this category. Looking at ethical dilemmas, looking at authentic leadership, servant leadership, specific traits and behaviors, spiritual leadership. So this next section will be focused on biblical servant leadership. What does the Bible have to say about servant leadership? I hope you go through this section with me. We'll specifically look at Jesus, Moses, and David. And then we'll look at your leadership legacy. How will you pass your legacy on of leadership? The next topic will be your calling and your gifts. What is your calling? What is your purpose? Have you developed that? Do you know what that is? And then we'll close out with looking at generativity, aging, and leadership as you look at different spheres and phases in your life, and then closing with meaning in life and legacy. So I've put my heart, soul, and mind into this course. So I know what I want to achieve, but what do you want to gain out of this course? I encourage you to take some time to think about that. Colossians 1 verse 9 says, "We haven't stopped praying for you. We're asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of His will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding." Knowledge is about facts, data, concepts, principles, rote learning, if you will, intellectual head knowledge, academic knowledge. What I'd like to see is a transition from the head to one's heart and one's hands, experiential learning. Understanding is about construction, piecing together, building, sculpting, generating, manufacturing, and applying this knowledge, organizing your knowledge. Wisdom is a complete and full knowledge. Matthew 7 talks about a man hearing words and putting them into action. That's a wise man, a man who builds his house on a firm foundation, where a foolish man builds his house upon the sand. Herbert Spencer, an English philosopher, said the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. So my hope is that you will get knowledge, understanding, and wisdom in this course. So if you look at this leadership learning model, over on the left is knowledge. So my goal is to impart, to instruct, to equip you. So you'll see the goal here is me, the professor, and then for you to utilize the Bible, and the Holy Spirit, and literature over on the knowledge section. Hopefully that will grow into understanding as you integrate and get saturated in that instruction and equipping. So you take some time to reflect, to pray, to study, have some time alone in solitude, meditation, and then some experiential learning and discovery. Then this wisdom section over on the right is application and transformation. So the goal here would be to apply the knowledge and understanding that you've already received, impacting and influencing others in a leadership capability, understanding your calling and God's will, and then leaving a leadership legacy as we move forward. The research shows that once you do apply these concepts, that there will be an increased level of meaning in life as you move forward. So I'm excited to see this knowledge and understanding unfold into wisdom in your life. So let's go through some definitions of leadership. Some of these will date back almost a century ago, but these are the experts in the past who've researched leadership and written much about it. John Hemphill and Alvin Coons did some studies on the description and measurement of leadership. They developed a quantitative scale called the Leader Behavior Description Questionnaire, and they said leadership is the behavior of an individual directing the activities of a group towards a single goal. Warren Bennis, an advisor to 4 presidents, he was also a modern leadership guru theorist and a behavioral expert, and he said leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. But his definition was, always it seems the concept of leadership eludes us or turns up in another form to taunt us again with its slipperiness and complexity. So we've invented an endless proliferation of terms to deal with it, and still the concept is not sufficiently defined. And he said that in 1959, but it's also true today. Daniel Katz and Robert Kahn wrote on the topic of social psychology of organizations back in the 70s, and they said leadership is the influential increment over and above mechanical compliance with the routine directives of the organization. So we'll talk about leadership and management. What they're saying here is this is over and above compliance or order or just management with the routine directives of an organization, but you'll see that word influence, and that is throughout many definitions of leadership. James McGregor Burns was an American historian and a political scientist. He has a long resume, a presidential biographer, and a Pulitzer Prize winner. He wrote one of the seminal books on transformational and transactional leadership in 1978. It was simply called Leadership. He received his PhD in political science from Harvard, and he stated leadership is one of the most observed and least understood phenomena on the earth. He also said that leadership was a collective, symbiotic relationship that bind leader and follower together. So you'll notice the reciprocity there. Collective implies it's a group, it's more than one. Symbiotic implies a give and take, a reciprocal relationship. And you'll also note that he talks about leader and follower. He talks a lot about followership and was one of the first to do so. So we will talk about that as well. Rauch and Bailing wrote on international perspectives on managerial behavior and leadership in the 80s. And they said leadership is the process of influencing the activities of an organized group towards goal achievement. So you'll see leadership can be a trait, a behavior, a process. There's many different definitions. Richards and Engel focused on executive visions. They made suggestions to corporate leaders and visionaries and vision champions, and they said leadership is about articulating visions, embodying values, and creating the environment within which things can be accomplished. So we'll talk about visions, we'll talk about values, we'll talk about culture and environment as well. You will see some, as I mentioned, talk about leadership as not just a behavior, but also a process. Here's one definition that says leadership is a process of giving purpose, meaningful direction to collective effort, and causing willing effort to be expended to achieve purpose. So that is a big piece of leadership, is giving followers a purpose and meaning in their work, a job satisfaction. Another definition is leadership is a process of making sense of what people are doing together so that people will understand and be committed. How do you get followers to be committed? How do you get them to work together better? We will talk about this during the course. House and others wrote about the cultural influence on leaders. They said leadership is the ability of an individual to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute towards the effectiveness and success of the organization. So as a leader, you really have to push buttons. You have to know how to influence, how to motivate people, both up and down the management food chain. And then how do you enable others to contribute towards the organization, towards the goals, and towards the team? The last definition comes from really one of my favorite books on leadership, and it's called The Art of Followership. It talks about leadership being an influence relationship among both leader and follower who intend real changes that reflect mutual purposes. So it's not just the leader's goal, the leader's purpose, or the leader's job to influence, but it's also the follower. So lastly, a couple textbooks that I highly recommend on leadership, and of course one that we use heavily is Yuckel's textbook. But leadership is the process of influencing others to understand and agree about what needs to be done and how to do it, and the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. So again, you'll see process, you will see influence, you will see the what needs to be done and the how to do it. So we're crossing over into management a little bit there. We'll talk next about leadership versus management. But again, you'll see this facilitation of both individuals and group efforts to accomplish shared goals. It's important to have shared vision and shared goals. Nordhaus says, again, it's a process of influencing a group to achieve common goals. And then lastly, we'll talk about formal and informal leadership as we move forward. Rooted in goal influencing that occurs between not just a leader and follower, but between a group, an organization, or institutions. So we'll come up with our own definitions as we move forward as well, but I thought that good background historically on what is leadership would be important.